At long last, these are my top picks of the albums from 2018 that I loved. We're going to be counting down from 15 to 1 right after this bumper, so you're not going to want to leave. Stick around. Alright guys, before we get into this video, I just want to let you know that at the end of it, I'm going to be giving a little bit of information about TMR Fest. So if you don't know what TMR Fest is, make sure you stick around to the end. If you do, just sit back and enjoy these picks. Before we dive into the albums, I want to shine a quick light on an EP that was absolutely miraculous this year. I was going to do a video about EPs, but honestly, a lot of the EPs ended up being albums based on the rule that it has to be under 6 songs to be an EP. So some of those made the list, and this one was 6 songs, so it was officially an EP. I want to talk about it because it's worth talking about. I'm talking about the Boy Genius EP. Self-titled, this is the collaboration of Lucy Dacus, Phoebe Bridgers, and Julian Baker, 2 of which I've followed their careers for a while and I'm absolutely huge fans of. Lucy, I didn't really know about until a few months ago. Also fantastic. This album it's 6 songs of pure beauty. It is harmonies. It is amazing lyricism that anyone can appreciate and relate to. And the sounds that they combine with the vocals and the instruments, it is unlike anything I've heard in a very long time. It is folk music at its finest, and it absolutely deserves all the accolades. I managed to pick up the tour pressing of Boy Genius. I haven't opened it yet because I already own a pressing that I'm playing. It's clear with a purple splatter, and they only sold this on the Boy Genius tour, of which I had the pleasure of seeing. So don't want to say anything else, just listen to it. I promise you'll love it. And without further ado, let's get into it. Number 15, May, Multisensory Aesthetic Experience. This is the first album from May in over 10 years. And honestly, it was definitely a triumph, if not what I expected from them. The Everglow was a driving force through my formative years, and to this day remains one of my favorite albums, nostalgia aside. So deep down, I really wanted the Everglow 2.0. I did. But what they gave us was not that, and that's okay. What we ended up getting was a transformation of a band that's a little older, a little wiser, and I like it a lot. Listening to Dave's voice is like listening to a friend talk. It's soothing, it's comforting, and it's oddly familiar. This album in particular features a lot more experimentation and psychedelic sounds than their previous albums, and it's a welcome change while not losing those emo rock roots that won me over in the first place. Awesome album, guys. Looking forward to seeing what the next May album brings. Did manage to pick up the record for this one. It does not have a gatefold, but it does come with beautiful colored discs. I love the art on all the May albums. It's so nice, and this album's no exception. But one disc is on translucent purple, and the other is on this really nice ultra clear. So beautiful colors that match the cover. Big fan of what they did with the packaging. Number 14, Caro Caro Bonito, Time and Place. KKB, this is gonna sound crazy to some of you, has come up with their Abbey Road. I mean, maybe not quite as magnificent and groundbreaking, but in terms of a sonic shift, I would wager that's true. I fell in love with Sarah and the Boys from the first time that I heard Sick Beat, and I have been a fervent fan ever since. From their glorious beginnings as a J-pop inspired band with sugary pop lyrics, they have really revolutionized their sound because they've expanded beyond the 3 of them and added 2 more members to the band, of which I got to see live recently. Very awesome. Shedding their sugary exterior, they're taking notes from grunge, shoegaze, and even noise music at times. Glitchy and experimental, Sarah's sweetness definitely still prevails through all of the chaos, and it's an awesome combination of sounds. This is an evolution for their sound that is perfectly timed in their career, and I'm very excited to see what comes next. Also managed to grab the record for this. Polyvinyl signed them. Awesome label, and well-deserved for them. Reissued Bonito Generation and put this out on vinyl. I managed to snag the really awesome early bird edition, which is this pink with kind of like slightly metallic if you look at it at an angle, but these wisps in it. Really nice variant. Big fan of what they did there. And Vinyl Me Please did a variant as well. I might have double dipped. Number 13, Tiny Stills, Laughing Into the Void. If you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you'll know I did a video with Tiny Stills months and months ago, and I've talked about her album quite a bit. I've even given it away in a video. It is a wonderful power pop record that is worthy of anyone's ears. I compared the production to that of Adam Schlesinger of Fountains of Wayne, which is interesting because Adam Schlesinger worked with Motion City Soundtrack, and Tony Thaxton, the drummer of Motion City Soundtrack, who is also Kaylin West, the frontwoman's husband, is in this band as well doing the drums, so it all comes full circle. The lyrics on this album are wonderful and empowering. Every single song is infectious in its own way, and I promise you the choruses will be stuck in your head for way longer than you think. This album, front to back, excellent listen. It's short, and when it's over, I'm actually sad. I wish it was a little longer, but that just means Tiny Stills need to put out more material ASAP. Also got the record, of course. She signed it for me, and it comes on this really cool sky blue color. Great color, great art on the record. Everything about this, home run. Good job, Kaylin. Number 12, Lucy Dacus, Historian. So I talked about Lucy Dacus before. in-boy genius. She is one of the 3 women that make up that incredible group. But Lucy has her own solo career, and her second album, Historian, is terrific. I hadn't given it a shot for some reason. I guess she wasn't on my radar the way Phoebe and Julian were, but I listened to it, and in the same way that their albums inspire me, it hit me in the feels. Lucy kicks out the powerhouse jams and wavers between quivering uncertainty and bombastic confidence throughout the whole album at the flick of a switch. This album is brilliant lyrically, sonically, and I'm really excited to see where her career goes because it's really at the infancy and there's a lot more to go. I don't own the record yet, but that will soon change. Secretly, I'm waiting for a cool variant to come out, so Lucy, if you're watching this. Number 11, George Clanton, Slide. Talk about Vaporwave a lot on this channel, and George Clanton is one of the stalwarts of Vaporwave's history. Also known as Esprit, he used to be heavy into the pure Vaporwave sound, but George Clanton, his self-titled project, tends to go a little bit more in the monster pop kind of psychedelic realm. He's almost created a genre of his own with his warm, hit you in the face and then hug you pop music. It really holds you tight and does not let you go for the entire album, and that's okay because the sounds are things you've never heard before. The album is short, but it is sweet and also begs repeat listens. An awesome album from George Clanton. Here's the record, issued on his own label, 100% Electronica. The color of the record is really cool. It's this like light blue, dark blue, kind of splattery swirl. Really interesting. I don't think I have a record that looks like this, which is always a plus, and the pressing sounds great too. I was happy to see George get a lot of acclaim from sites like Pitchfork and people like The Needle Drop, so hopefully with all of this positive attention, he'll keep putting out some great stuff in the future. Number 10, How to Dress Well, The Anteroom. Tom is back to his experimental electronic roots, but this time with absolutely stellar production. This album has gut-wrenching lyricism over swirling, uncanny valley-style beats, all with these R&B and down-tempo inspired beats that always keep you on your toes and you never know what to expect. The album's quite long, but I promise you this is a journey worth taking. This is probably Tom's best work to date. I don't have the record yet. I know there's a limited version. I will be buying that ASAP. Number 9, MGMT, Little Dark Age. MGMT is a band that I totally wrote off. I loved their first album, or at least 4 or 5 of the songs, and then everything after that was more or less drivel. They almost turned me off actively with their experimental misfires. They were off my radar for a very long time, until I was in a record store and I Shazammed a song that I didn't know who it was. Lo and behold, the title track, Little Dark Age, from this album. I immediately went home and listened to it, and I was blown away. Super catchy, almost aggressively so. These songs have not left my head, and I am not upset about that. This might be one of the most underrated albums of the year, because a lot of people like me probably just wrote them off. So if you like me and you did that, give them a shot. This might be their best work to date. Number 8. Kanye West, Yay. This is arguably Kanye's most vulnerable album to date. I know some of you are like, that's not an album, it's so short, it's 23 minutes. Well, it's 7 songs. As I said, the threshold for an EP is 6 songs or less. He considers it an album, so for the sake of this video, it's an album. Kanye was going through something pretty big when this album came out. He apparently scrapped what he was working on for Yay and created the current iteration of it in a month, which in itself is incredibly impressive. I'm really curious what that was going to be, and I think in the forthcoming Yandhi release, we are gonna find some of those sounds probably remastered, redone, whatever it may be, and I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm taking Yay as what it is, and it's a great listen. It utilizes that Pablo-style high production and some of that Yeezus-style intensity, but it's definitely its own thing. It also gave birth to arguably the track of the year, Ghost Town. It's kind of crazy that a Kanye album is not my number 1, but you know what? Pretty high on the list, and for what it is, it's a great listen. Like I said, I love that he's talking about mental illness. I love that he's talking and being vulnerable about his life, his family. It's a look into the life of a man that no one can really understand, and this might be the closest we can come to it. Picked up the vinyl, pretty bare bones, black vinyl, single pocket. Sounds okay, could sound better. Number 7, Fort Vine, Stay Magical. Simple, poetic lyrics, endlessly positive, sunny, warm melodies and harmonies. That's what Fort Vine's known for, and they took what I loved about their debut album and took it to new heights with this one. New and ambitious compositions with Trevor's buttery vocals and Nina's angelic harmonies. This album is wonderful front to back. It's folk pop with a soul and a beating heart, and you can follow that through the entire album's journey. I love this album, and I know anyone who listens to it will love it too. It's not on vinyl, their first album is, but I hope it will be, and if you make records and you're watching this, talk to me, let's make it happen. Number 6, The Paper Kites. On the train ride home, On the Corner Where You Live. This is a double album by the insanely underrated Australian band The Paper Kites. Indie rock for fans of Jose Gonzalez, Kings of Convenience, and other warm-sounding bands like that. This may be 2 albums, but it's a double album, and they're companions to one another. Also comes with both of them in one vinyl package, so I'm considering it one long album. The first part, On the Train Ride Home, is warm folk music that will strike a chord in the deepest caverns of your soul. Some of these songs are absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful, and I love this part more than the second part, but the second one is not without merit. On the Corner Where You Live has a little more dreamy fire to it. Think of some of the best stuff that the War on Drugs have done, and maybe some of the songwriting tricks that the National evokes. Hooky and almost danceable at times, this is definitely an album that you should listen to if you haven't put them on your radar yet. The pressing itself is great too. Big gatefold sleeve with beautiful art from each of the 2 albums, and comes on colored vinyl. First one is on gold, and the second one, silver. Alright, we're at the top 5. You guys ready? Number 5, JID DiCaprio 2. JID is an insane up-and-coming MC that put out a stellar album this year. Obviously, if it's that high on my list. Someone on a blog that I read compared his flow to the Bride in Kill Bill slicing down the Crazy 88, and that's all I could think about when I listened to it. He effortlessly glides over beats with his incredible flow that occupies the space similar to what Kendrick Lamar and Anderson .Paak do, and honestly, that is not a bad thing. More of that is very welcome in the world of mumble rap. The album has strong features like J. Cole, Joey Badass, and Method Man, but in no way does it rest on their star power. JID could do the whole thing himself and keep our attention the entire time just because of how technically talented he is. Lyrics are good too. He's carving his own path, and if you're not following him, you're making a huge mistake. If you're a hip-hop fan, get on it now. No vinyl pressing yet, but the second it's up for pre-order. Number 4, DJ Koze, Knock Knock. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I had heard in passing that Koze was a techno artist, so I kind of wrote him off my whole life up until a couple months ago. What a mistake. It is so far from techno. Sure, there's some elements of it, but it is just experimental electronic in the most accessible, beautiful way. Not quite as powerful as a punch as the first time I heard the Avalanches, especially Wildflower, but it evoked a similar feeling where it was just so eclectic throughout the album, and there are so many different vocal guests, including Jose Gonzalez on it. Shocked me, I didn't even know that song existed. I'm stupid. It keeps this solid vibe throughout all of it while being sonically different track to track, and that's a very difficult thing to do. This album will absolutely floor any fan of electronic music, no matter what genre you're into. Koze has a mastery of what he's doing, and all the guests he decided to bring on are equally excellent. This album came out of nowhere for me and skyrocketed into my top 5, so you know this is worth listening to. I don't own it on vinyl. Vinyl Me Please did a pressing that sold out, limited to I think 500. I'm trying to track it down. Number 3, Olafur Arnalds, Remember. Arnalds has been considered one of the best ambient kind of minimal electronic musicians for a very long time. He just oozes talent, and this album is maybe my favorite thing he's ever done. He utilizes an interesting contraption called the Stratus. The Stratus is 2 self-playing, semi-generative player pianos that he controls with a piano he's playing himself. What? Through the system, beautiful harmonies and incredibly unique compositions are formed in ways that you probably couldn't do organically, and it still managed to sound incredibly organic. That's how talented this man is. Ambient, down-tempo, laden with strings and piano, this album will literally have you holding your breath the entire time because of how beautiful it is. Fraught with emotion, every single track tells a story. This is a technically unique and impressively organic masterpiece that definitely deserves to be at the top of anyone's list. If you want something that's gonna really impress you, this is an album that's worth checking out. Of course I picked it up on vinyl. What am I, dum-dum? I got the Rough Trade exclusive clear vinyl because I knew that once people caught on to how good this album is, no way to find it. So grab that because this album is worth it. Number 2, Low Double Negative. Glitchy, haunting, ethereal, and arguably their most powerful album to date. This album is equally beautiful and unnerving. This is an initially challenging journey that absolutely rewards the listener beyond comprehension. The band has taken an entirely new style that definitely pays homage to their slowcore roots, but sounds so different than everything thus far. Carve forward into the great unknown. Give this album a real chance if you want to be blown into smithereens minute after minute. Of course, I picked this up as well, and I got the limited Electric Fetus version, which I noticed shot up in price. I guess it sold out. People realized how good the album was, plus the variant is absolutely stellar. This translucent light pink with dark pink splatter does the album justice. This album is just so good, and there's a reason it's my number 2, and it's also hard to talk about because it's so meaty and dense and intense. Just give it a listen. If you trust me, sit with headphones, you're gonna fall in love like I did. And number 1, my favorite album of the year. This is gonna be a cop-out. I couldn't decide between these 2. So, tied for number 1, is Imagine Dragons Origins and Mumford & Sons Delta. The music on these albums is just, it's just so awful that they're not on my list and they shouldn't be on anyone's list. The real number one of the year is Kids See Ghosts. If you guys follow me on social media, you know I've been talking about Kids See Ghosts fervently since it came out, and that's because it is by far the best musical experience I've had all year. Just shy of 24 minutes, it seems like it would also be an EP, but you know what? No, it is not. It is an album, and it is my number one album of the year. The cool thing about this album is that it only occupies those minutes theoretically, but somehow they managed to make it feel like a 40-minute album when I listen to it. I'm always shocked at how long it's going while it's going because I'm enjoying it the whole time because there's not a single flawed note. But it just seems like it's so much longer than 24 minutes. How did they do it? If you don't know Kids See Ghosts, if you are just getting back to the world after a trip to Mars, welcome back. This is Kanye West and Kid Cudi's collaborative project, kind of like a trippy Watch the Throne, a psychedelic, grungy version of it. Pure hip-hop, but with a lot of unique sounds. I'm talking they sample Louis Prima and Kurt Cobain on the same album. Kanye and Cudi are in top form. They always tend to bring out the best in each other, and this full album together is no exception. Like I said, the album is flawless, and after you finish it, there's almost an impossible task of not starting it over again. I'm really hoping this is not the last we'll see of Kids See Ghosts, and I don't think we will because the response has been stellar across the board. Grab the record, sounds great. And this is Takeshi Murakami's art, who's been a longtime collaborator of Kanye. One of my favorite album covers probably of all time. Can I just get this tattooed on my whole body? Real quick before this video ends, I'm gonna do a couple honorable mentions. Just say the names of ones that almost made the list, and for better or worse, they could have. But the albums I also love this year are West Side Gun, Supreme Blientele, Slow Dancing Society, The Torchlight Parade, Volume 1 and 2, JPEG Mafia, Veteran, No Name, Room 25, Lil Peep, Come Over When You're Sober, Part 2, Pusha T, Daytona, and Nas, Nasir. All excellent albums. It was so hard this year to narrow it down, but I managed to pick my top 15. All of these albums, if you haven't heard them, please give them a listen. Those are my top 15 albums of the year. Most of these I'm probably going to be keeping, but that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be a lot of amazing records I will have at TMR Fest. If you aren't familiar with what that is, I'm going to leave a link in the description of the video where I announce it. Basically, I'm holding a big pop-up event in Los Angeles in March. Going to be selling over 1,000 of my own records, super highly curated stuff, having bands play, and chatting with you guys. So it's going to be great. Make sure you check it out. There's a Facebook group with tons of info where you can give your input, info in the description. And also, let me know what you think of my list. If you listened to an album from my list and you loved it and you hadn't heard it, please leave a comment, let me know. I would love to know that I turned you on to something great. And if you didn't like any of my picks, tell me why, and I'll try to argue why you're wrong. I want to know what your top albums were, so leave a comment below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share this with your friends, and more videos soon. Happy 2019, guys.